So hello everybody, welcome back. I hope that you like this video and that you find it helpful somehow. And anyway, grab your coffee, and if you wanted to share one duty while you're at it, links for that down below. And here we go. So, several things that you might want to take note about the top items that you are very likely going to need to replace frequently. So this means that this will cost you a lot of money, and sometimes you might not be able to afford these ones, or they will just not be there anymore. Now, the first four, of course, this is not going to be in this list. The reason being, they are universal, but at the same time, these ones you might not be able to understand the whole concept of replacing them. So the first one will be air. And you're thinking, I don't need air. Yeah! I'm sorry. But without air, you literally have about a minute or two for you to probably die or have severe impact in your health. So air needs to be recycled, and you might need to replace air inside your place, especially if you have pollution and all kinds of dust and all kinds of things outside. This is sort of like the example of New York right now, which is kind of yellow and orange and red and dark, and basically you cannot get out because you cannot breathe, and it will take a while until they can clean the air. Now, the cleaning of the air or the replacement of the air is done by wind, and it can also be done by machinery inside your office or inside your house. There are machinery that will do that for you. And so you might want to get those, or you might need to understand how this works. Because if you are in a place and this place is totally contaminated and you cannot breathe in it, or breathing is very, very, very difficult, you may have to come up with a plan. Especially if you have people in your family that have allergies or conditions that are special, or even asthma or stuff like this. And so it is very, very, very important. That's one of those things that you cannot replace on your own, but you need to think that it needs to be replaced. So you will also need a lot of plants all over you, because plants are the ones that deal with this problem. Now, the second one will be water. You are going to spend most of your days, and I do mean most of your days, like 6 days out of 7. And that is if you are lucky in during those 6 days you actually got water these 6 days, then you can rest 1 day. But other than that, then no, you are going to be spending on a daily basis all kinds of resources trying to fetch water. Even if you have plenty of water with you, you will still need more. Why? Well, because if you happen to have a lot of water, then you might be able to trade it. And so, yeah, you are going to be making this your priority over almost anything. Because without water, you basically cannot do anything. You are going to be in an extreme situation if you cannot replace water on a daily basis. Then, of course, the third one that you're going to need to replace on a daily basis will be cash. As in money. You are thinking, why? Well, that will be because money is one of those things that will lose value. And if you don't understand how to do this, then you are going to have huge problems. You need to be able to come up with a system that works for you in terms of how to replace that cash, so that you have enough savings for a small emergency, but at the same time, that is not going to affect your finances to the point that you will be broke because you had $1 million yesterday, but today that $1 million is worth $10,000, and so you just lost $10,000 for each dollar that you had And that is because you don't understand the value of time and money during inflation and hyperinflation, and there is a lot of videos for that in my channel. Other than that, I suggest that you start thinking what you value properly, because there has to be some sort of balance between what you want to get for emergencies and what you want to get for daily life, like transportation, fuel, and other things that you are going to have to buy on a daily basis. And on a daily basis, you will need all of those things. And you will be spending all of your time in those things. It doesn't matter what you do. On a daily basis, you will spend time fetching these resources. Then the last one will be fuel and food. Obviously, because fuel is optional, and it will depend upon whether or not your area has the access that you can go there by walking, or if you live in a building, or if you live in a community that requires transportation, or it will depend upon so many things. But basically, you need transportation and you need communication on a daily basis. And fuel is also going to be used in case that there is a power outage. This one will not be on a daily basis, hopefully, but you will have to replace all of those resources a lot, like very frequently, and to the point in which the most traded items in the entire planet are going to be water and fuel over everything else, even food. And last one, like I said, it will be food, and that is because even if you have food enough for 6 months, you will still need fresh food. And at the same time, if the food that you have is not the one that you prefer, then this is going to severely impact your mood and a lot of other things, and so you will have a lot of issues. Therefore, you seriously need to fetch food frequently, probably once a week, and depending upon the size of your family, twice a week, and depending upon who is cooking and all of those things, once a week, twice a week, or sometimes even daily. There are people that will go daily to get their food because they cannot afford more than 1 day worth of food. And so this is a very, very, very important and huge deal, okay? So write down those things, because you need to have a plan for all of those things for a weekly, daily, or twice a week plans, depending upon, like I said, who is with you and all of these things, and your needs. Because if you have a car, then obviously fuel is going to be one of those things that you will fetch daily, and it's just one of those things that will require a lot of time, and it will require a lot of your strength and a lot of your stamina, as in mental stamina, physical stamina, emotional stamina, social stamina, and all kinds of stamina. Seriously, it's one of those things. Now, other than that, then I am going to tell you other 10 things that you are going to either miss or have an issue with, and it's going to become an inconvenience for you. And if this becomes an inconvenience for you, I have told you before, every single time that you have an inconvenience, that means that you will be spending, let's say that you take 1 hour to do something. If you have an inconvenience now, it can take anywhere from 4 hours to, let's say, 3 days, just because you have inconveniences. So seriously, fix that. And in order for you to fix that, then you have to understand. So the first one, this one is the only one that is in a particular order, is the first one. The other 9, they are not in a particular order. So the first one, the top most replaced items will be the light bulbs. I have mentioned this before a lot. I have write it in the comment section when people ask me what is wrong or whatever. And the first one is certainly going to give you headaches all the time, and it's going to be light bulbs. The reason being, well, to the point in which if you have a specialty equipment that requires a special kinds of light bulbs, yeah, you are getting rid of the equipment. Why? Well, because if it requires a light bulb that you are not finding, or it is too expensive, then you don't need it. Most of the times, seriously, you will ask if you absolutely need it, because otherwise you're getting rid of that. Well, seriously, there are equipment that requires these light bulbs that are too special, and those are not available anymore. And then there is the regular light bulbs, and then there are the LED light bulbs, and there are a lot of issues with light bulbs, including but not limited to the fact that one of the first signs of our times, I have mentioned this before, is the fact that people will steal all of the light bulbs all over you. So they will mess around with the light bulbs that you have in your backyard or in your front yard or whatever, because if you unscrew a little bit the light bulb, you will think that the light bulb is just out, and you're not thinking that somebody unscrewed it a little bit on purpose so that it doesn't turn on. And if it doesn't turn on, then you're in the dark, and if you're in the dark, then people can attack you easily. And if you don't replace it immediately, then people will know it's a way for targeting you. So light bulbs can be also a problem because they will go boom when the electricity is too high. They will also be weird, and they will change colors, and then they will entirely just fail, like it's almost like they died on you. And the reason is, yeah, the electricity is too low. Rather than being 110 or 220, is 80 something, and the light is just not there anymore. And without light, you are going to have an emotional impact, meaning you will be scared. Your kids will be scared, and at the same time, it's one of those things that, you see, if you have to choose between food and light bulbs, you are always going to choose food. If you have to choose between water, food, and light bulbs, you're always going to choose food and water. Therefore, light bulbs are extremely important, but they are not considered essential. And so whoever has some sort of light bulbs, and they have a lot of light bulbs and things like that, it will be considered a luxury, to the point in which even in the public light will not work anymore. And without public light, because let's say that you're walking in a street. If you're walking down the street in the middle of the night, the only reason you can do that is because there is a street lamp. But if there is problems with the light bulbs because somebody stole those light bulbs so that it will be dark, then the city cannot replace all of those light bulbs on a daily basis. And not only that, but seriously, it's just going to be one of those things. And so this one is going to create, beyond an inconvenience, is going to be a threat on a daily basis. So to the point in which a lot of communities will buy the light bulbs for the street lamps, and then they will secure the street lamps with padlocks and other stuff in certain areas. And that is because you need certain key points in your community to be lighted. Otherwise, you will have accidents, you will have all kinds of problems. And I don't need to tell you that if there is a power outage and you don't have even the small possibility of having any kind of light, you will be pitch black. And having a pitch black situation is going to definitely kill you in terms of the emotional aspect, because everybody will be kind of scared. And if you happen to have a cell phone and you're trying to do things using your cell phone, you might become a target because people from the outside can tell that you have a cell phone. And if you're moving with the cell phone all over the place, your cell phone is going to be one of those things that is also going to become a problem. And it has been proven that it is not something that you want to use. you really seriously want to get a flashlight rather than using your cell phone. But anyway, so light bulbs, you seriously want to have a lot. You seriously want to understand how to use those when there is no power through the normal cables. And you might need to understand the proper wiring towards generators and emergency light bulbs and light bulbs that are done by batteries and things like this. It's just one of those things. Also, light bulbs might help you if you are in a situation in which you are cold and you cannot turn on the heater. Light bulbs are going to be one of those things that can create heat depending upon the type of light bulb that you have. And so a lot of people will they will rather have a lot of light bulbs turned on rather than just heat the heater, and it can help. But at the same time, like I said, it will depend upon a lot of situations, so pick this topic properly, because think about that. Just like you cannot live without air, you probably cannot live without light bulbs. The reason being, like I said, if it is pitch black and the situation becomes severe, then you seriously need light. You seriously need to find a way to produce light. Even I have mentioned this before, even in the videos that I have about the power outages, that we have a national emergency for 7 days without power in the entire country. So this one, make it your priority, because if you don't make it your priority now, when it actually matters, then this will be just be out of the window. And so light, it will become a luxury. And so you might need to find a natural way for producing light in case that all of these situations are affecting you, which, by the way, they will. So next one is cell phones. Reason being, replace items. The cell phones will be because people will be running, and if you're running, your cell phone will be screwed. People are having accidents with the cell phone, like you drop them, you wet them, it's a cell phone, and God knows that even if you have a kid, a pet, or anything, and for all I know, there are people that have even placed the cell phone in the dryer with the clothing on because they leave them in their pockets, and then you turn on the washing machine and it's gone. You turn on the dryer machine and the drying machine will blow up and you will create an explosion. So seriously, cell phones are one of those things that can actually create fires. There is a problem with the batteries. There are so many things, and it's insane. You will need a lot of replacements for the device. And every single time that you have the problems with the device because it got stolen, because it broke, because you broke it, because you had an accident, because you want to replace the screen, because you want the same device, but because you cannot access other devices and you like this one, but then you have to wait and change the screen on this one so that it was the part that broke. And there are so many things that are going to go wrong with the freaking cell phones. It's insane. Mostly, also, I have mentioned this before, people went into the game for zombie survival, and it is a game, and people are simulating to be in a zombie apocalypse, and it's insane. Half of those people have issues with their cell phones, as in they drop them, and at least, let's say, 1 in every 10 people just broke them, and it is just in a game. Try to imagine if it was a real situation. And at this point, if you are counting on your cell phone for the battery, for using it as a flashlight, for using it as your watch, and for using it as an everything, you are not going to be able to do that. Seriously, just no. Especially because, like I told you, cell phones are one of those things that people will want to steal from you, and so it will be an issue. Huge one. So, cell phones, yeah, goodbye. Next is going to be batteries, and of course this is like a normal thing, right? You understand that during hard times, like I said, only food, water, and fuel are going to be the main markets that will be okay, and alcohol, of course. But batteries is one of those things that you need it, and if you don't have it, then what are you going to do? And you need batteries for the medical devices, you need batteries for the TV controllers, for all kinds of controllers, you need batteries for the cell phones, you need batteries for absolutely everything. And the worst part is that I have mentioned in several videos that if you have the batteries that are rechargeable, they do not work for medical devices. If you are using a medical device and you are using rechargeable batteries with those devices, the devices will not work properly and you will have issues. Batteries have an expiration date on them, so if you cannot see it, then I suggest that you write down the expiration date with a permanent marker or something like this. And I also suggest that you learn how to store them properly, how to test them, and all kinds of things, because most of the times you will think that the devices are damaged, but sometimes it's not. It's just that the battery is not working. And so it's one of those things that you seriously want to get it right. And you want to understand how many devices do you have that actually work with these things, including but not limited to the remote controller for your garage door and your alarm in your car. Because those most people don't consider, and then they're trying to turn on the alarm for the car or stuff like this, and your battery will fail exactly when you need it the most. And you don't even know what kind of battery does this device work with. A lot of people don't even know that. So it's going to be a problem. Batteries. So get it right. Then there are a lot of cables that are going to be needed for absolutely everything. Reason being, well, number one, if there is no internet, because there is lack of communication, then how exactly are you going to print something with your printer? And you're thinking, it's wireless. Yes. But if there is no internet, because of whatever reason, like you couldn't afford the services of internet or whatever, then I'm going to tell you right now that I'm not going to say 10, but close to 10, 9 out of 10 devices that you have, they will not work because they do not have the cables installed, or because you didn't get the cables, or anything. And if you are into a situation in which you are seriously in danger and things like this, I highly suggest that you stop using your cell phones devices that are connected to your ear through the internet, because not only I have shown you before that thing will have a 7,000 times, and I do mean times, 7,000 times the amount of radiation that cables will have if you are using earplugs. And so these cables are cables for charging USBs. There are different kinds of devices that are working with different kinds of cables, but you seriously need to sit down and ask yourself, how are you going to wear anything or use anything if there is no internet? And at the same time, how are you going to make this whole thing if the cables that you have are broken because you didn't know how to store them? Oh, and by the way, a lot of people will steal cables, all kinds of cables. Cables is one of those things that will be stolen also. So I have mentioned this before. You seriously want to make a plan about this one, because it's the one that will caught you off guard. And right now, then when you need to print to print the freaking document, like do or die kind of situation, yeah, the printer doesn't work because there is no internet. And so breathe. And you're thinking, yeah, I can send the documents out. No, you have no internet. So seriously, try to go analogic with everything that you can, because internet might be reliable or it might not be reliable. And so electricity is something that you can try to make up by generators or whatever. But the internet is not one of those things that you can actually try to make up in your house. Even if you have the generator, if the internet doesn't work because the tower is not working, then communications are out. And so seriously, go cable. Next will be the lighter, the matches, and the fire making tools. So I'm going to try to tell you something that you may not have considered before. But one of the reasons, on the top 5 reasons why people leave the countryside and they go to the cities, in the beginning, I'm not talking right now, I'm talking about the beginning. It was because in the beginning, if you were in the countryside, the possibility of you having lighters, matches, or stuff like that was nearly impossible. Why? Well, because it is a luxury. Having lighters and matches are a luxury. And you're thinking, what do you mean? It's a luxury because you can make fire without lighters and you can make fires without matches. And are you going to need, you're going to need a lot of other tools. But the point is, do you know how to make a fire without lighters or matches? And do you know how much work, physical work, it implies for you to make fire? Yes, you can do it. You're not going to die. And yes, you can learn it. You're not going to die. But it is physical work that it is very tiring. And especially if you don't have the experience in managing this topic. And at this point, a lot of people from the countryside were so pissed that they have to do so much physical work that they would rather go into the cities where they can just buy a lighter, and with that, you already made the fire. And it doesn't take you more than a minute. So, by the way, at this point, I can tell you that the lighters that are long, certain types of models, certain type of things, rechargeable lighters, and all kinds of things, they will be gone. Gone. And there was a point in which all supermarkets in here carried all kinds of lighters, and they carried all kinds of matches. And there was a time in which the supermarkets, and there was nearly 1.5 years in which there was no way that you will be able to find matches anywhere. All you can find were lighters, and were disposable, to the point in which right now lighters are very expensive. And if it is disposable, I don't need to tell you that that means luxury, and that also means very expensive, and that also means very bad quality, because it is disposable. And so there are people that will learn how to repair repair the lighters, and it's going to be a thing, trying to repair those things, and it will depend. But seriously, you also need to understand how to make the fire work with the fan, with the straw to blow on it. And I mean, there are so many things that are related to fire, including but not limited to turning off the fire and controlling the size of the fire and all of these things. All of those things are essential, because you don't think about it, but if there is no electricity and it's the middle of winter, do you, honest to God, think that you are going to just let things be and die of you being frozen. You need fire. Even in summer, you will still need fire for cooking, for boiling water, for boiling your coffee, for boiling your tea, for boiling the water just because the water might be contaminated. You need fire. And so you don't want to spend 2 hours trying to make the fire because you don't know how. And because you don't have the proper materials and you don't even know how to recognize wood. So screw all of that. Go simple. Have plenty of lighters and matches. Plenty. And the best way to go with this one will be the matches that are waterproof. And you also want these things to be stored in places that they do not freeze and in places that are secured, and all of these things are very, very, very important. You can have magnesium bars, you can do whatever you want, but make sure that you understand this topic, because without fire you will have a very hard time, especially if there is no power, because all the light that you can get might be only from a fire. And so seriously, get this, because otherwise you will spend a lot of time and you will spend a lot of physical stamina and all kinds of things. So easier. Then the next one is plastic bags that are extremely important, and this one is because plastic bags will be charged. And so now if you go to the supermarket, you gotta pay for your plastic bag, and several problems with this. Number one, sometimes, I have mentioned this before, you go to a store and there is no plastic bag for you. You go to the supermarket and they will not sell you plastic bags because they don't have them. And plastic bags is one of those things that people will just take for granted until they are not being produced anymore, or they start costing you 25 cents each plastic bag or $1 each plastic bag. And let's say that the ones that are black, the ones that are for trash bags and that can be used as a pointer and a lot of other things, let's say that each one of those things will cost you $50 right now. Will you buy it? Easy, right? So that's why a lot of people have issues and fights with their neighbors, because people don't even use trash bags anymore. People are just using any kind of container that they can find to put their trash. And this is going to be a fight that you will have with everybody. And at the same time, you will need plastic bags for almost anything. If you're thinking, well, I could use the other ones, like the ones that are ecological and all of that, yes, you can. However, if you are going to, for example, collect poop from your dog when you are walking the dog, how are you going to collect that in something that is reusable? See, there are times in which, unfortunately, there are no substitutions for plastic bags. And let's say that you have something that it is liquid, that you need to transport it, and or something that it will break, and if it breaks, you really do not want it to be in touch with anything else. You seriously need plastic. And so I think that we need balance in this aspect. Yes, buy the ones that you are supposed to reuse and all of these things, but make sure that you understand that plastic bags will be gone. And if they are gone, how is this going to affect you? And how is this going to affect everyone near you? And what are you going to do about it? Because there will be a time in which these plastic bags is just, you won't find them anymore. And if you cannot find them anymore, then you need a plan B for the trash, and you need a plan B for everything else. Then is nails, screws, glues, glue sticks, tapes, duct tape, specialty glues, like the high temperature one for the cars, and all kinds of things. And this is because anything that you're using for repairing, you are going to need it. Mostly because you will have a lot of things that will break, and you getting a new one not happening. Not even for the spare parts for your car. To the point in which people will use a specialty type of glues to put together pieces of the car that are even metals. And so, yes, you need to understand this one, because this one is one of those things that your daughter broke this, your son broke that, your husband broke this, your wife broke that, and now you need to fix it. How are you going to fix it? Most of the times you will say duct tape. Yeah, a lot of people will say that. So, duct tape, specialty glues, the glue sticks, I have mentioned this before. Buy the glue stick gun thing, and then the glue stick that goes with that. Because that one is going to be one of the best things that you can have for repairing a lot of things. And of course, these things will not sustain high temperature things, but there are some that will sustain high temperatures. So you need to understand temperatures, materials, and glues, and whether it is better to use a nail or a screw, or what are you supposed to do. Because on a daily basis, you will have the probability, very high probability, that something will break in your house. Something. Anything from, like I said, whatever. I mean, I have mentioned before, and even, I think I have even shown you videos about all of the things that they will just break. And if you cannot afford food or water, how are you going to afford a replacement of those things? So, repairing your new hobby. By the way, I suck at that one. That's why I keep asking my mom and my neighbor. You can trade skills with somebody else that is better than you at these things, because, yeah. Anyway, next one goes pens, pencils, and papers, to the point in which, have you seen lately people reading the newspaper? I'm not talking about the computer or the ebook version or whatever electronic version. I'm talking about the physical newspaper and the physical thing. Because you see, paper is one of those things that is not going to be available anymore. Because it is either too expensive, or it's just one of those things. And so most people will not buy paper of any kind. At this point, I can tell you that if you are doing anything related to government or documentation or lawyers or anything like that, you will have to provide your own printed version. And you will have to provide the paper so that they can print it for you. Because paper is just very expensive. And not only that, there was a point in which, in the beginning of time, paper was only allowed for extreme, and I do mean extreme, extremely rich people, as in only the king and the king from the next country. Those are the only people that could have paper. Not even the nobility will have access to papers. And so... And by the way, if you're going to become like that, and there is no more industry to produce paper, paper is now going to be brown. And it's going to be greenish in color or yellowish in color. And there is no way that you will be able to find the white one that you have. And if you're thinking art or whatever, yeah, good luck with that. So, if you want to write down anything, you might need to understand these things. Also, even if you go to a bank to sign papers, they will say, you have your own pen, right? Because nobody wants to lend a pen to anybody in good times, let alone in hard times. Pens are going to be one of those things that you will need in your EDC, you will need next to the phones, you will need in your office, you will need in your briefcase, you will need in your purse, you will need a lot. I mean, seriously, how many times do you need a pen on a weekly basis? If it is more than 2, then you seriously need to consider how are you going to replace that. And if you're thinking, I never need this, yeah, but this is hard times. It's not like you can just record everything on your cell phone, because like I said, cell phones might not be available anymore. And it's not like you can sign papers without pens and without pencils and other stuff, because sometimes you might need to use these for other stuff like drawings and stuff like this, so you might need to erase it. And so those things are extremely expensive. Paper is so expensive that if you're going to buy a notebook for your kids for them to study, you will need about $1,000 per year per kid for office materials for them to study, which is why more than half of the kids will not study anymore. And you're thinking, yeah, that's a good thing because the schools, whatever. Yeah, I wonder how are you going to teach your kids to do math or to do anything without pencils and without paper and without notebooks and without all of those things. And I wonder how are you going to have kids without them not even learning how to color and things like this. And so it's very, very, very important that you understand that these things are replaceable and they are things that are needed a lot, especially if you have kids or if you have needs for signing papers or documentations. Next one, socks and shoes. I don't need to explain this one to you, right? I mean, how frequently do you walk? And how frequently do you, do you go out with different kinds of shoes? And how frequently does your sock suck? Sort of speak. Yeah. This one, especially for kids, very, very, very important. Next one is handbags, backpacks, and luggage items and EDC items. And this is because during hard times, the probability of you buying any kind of luggage, not happening. Any kind of backpack, yeah. No, that one will be considered, I'm not going to say luxury, but no. It's just, you seriously want to try to get the ones that you can repair or repair items for these things. And your favorite handbag, you might need to replace the zipper or replace the handbag per se. And buying a handbag might be kind of like you saying, okay, this is my birthday present, or this is my Christmas present, or this is my own treat because I was able to accomplish this or that. Because other than that, you seriously are not buying anything. To the point in which you will see people who are traveling and they are using a plastic bag to carry whatever it is that you can carry. And because having a backpack is just too expensive. Especially kids that are at school, backpacks can be very, very expensive for them. And so this is one of those things that you will need, and it needs to be replaced, because obviously it is something that it breaks. It's going to be on a daily use. You need to wash it frequently. You might need to have two. It's one of those things that it will make you feel human. You don't need it, but it will make you feel human, and you need to replace them with certain frequency, especially if you're a woman. And that's it. So I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that you do not need to make decisions in terms of what is more important, because sometimes that can also suck. Anyway, good luck. Thank you for staying tuned. See you again soon.